Hello guys, in today's lesson we continue to learn operators, and next we have increment and decrement. In programming we often change the values of variables, but most often we increase or decrease their values by 1. Why? Imagine that you have a set of some data. For example, there are 10 of them. You want to do something with the first data, then with the second, then with the third, and so on. In many programming languages, data can be grouped into specific entities, such as arrays. In arrays, each element of such a group has its own index or serial number, and it turns out that we need a variable that will be responsible for the serial number. At first, it can be equal to 1, then 2, then 3, and so on. That is, we will need to constantly increase our variable by 1. This is the first very common case of increasing a variable by 1. The second case is the need to perform some action a certain number of times. Many programming languages have constructs such as loops, and so does C++. Thanks to them, you can perform the same actions over and over again. And in order to perform the action exactly the right number of times, you need a counter of completed actions. This could be a variable that before the first action will be equal to 0, then 1, then 2, and so on. Again, it turns out that you need to increase the variable by 1. And just for such actions, many programming languages have increment and decrement. But before I show you increment and decrement, let's think about how we can constantly increase a variable by 1. We can already do this in two ways: by writing an entire expression using the addition operator and assignment operator, or by using the compound arithmetic addition operator. In the previous lesson, we learned that compound operators are simplified versions of changing a variable, but increment and decrement are even more simplified versions of increasing and decreasing a variable. An increment looks like two pluses, and a decrement looks like two minuses. An increment increases the value of a variable by 1, and a decrement decreases the value of a variable by 1. Both operators have two forms: prefix and postfix. Prefix form is when you write the operator before a variable, and postfix form is when you write the operator after a variable. Both forms change the variable, but we'll talk about their differences a little later. Look at this example. Here, all commands increase the variable by 1, but the increment looks simpler and shorter than everyone else. Same with decrement. All commands decrease the value of a variable by 1, but decrement does this most elegantly. It remains to talk only about the difference in forms of these operators. The prefix form first increments the value of a variable and then returns its new value. The postfix form first returns the previous value of the variable and then increments it. The difference can be seen if you use these operators in other expressions, such as here. First, I set the variable a to the value 10. Then, using the prefix increment form, I first increment the variable a and then assign its new value of 11 to the variable b. After that, I reset the value of the variable to the value 10, and I already use the postfix form. Thanks to it, I first get the value of the variable, it's equal to 10. This value is assigned to the variable c, after which I increase the value of the variable a, and it's now equal to 11. Below you can see another example in which I increment the value of a variable a twice, using both forms of increment. On the right, I wrote that we will see on the screen and what value the variable will have after each command. The situation is similar with decrement. Try these examples, but use a decrement and try to determine the values of the variables b and c yourself, as well as the values that will be displayed on the screen before running the program. You may have a question: why do we need two forms of these operators? Isn't one enough? First, the prefix form can be faster than the postfix form, because in the postfix form, the computer must store an intermediate value of the variable before incrementing it. You say, well, that's the reason to keep only the prefix form, no? I would agree with you, but there are situations where using the postfix form looks more elegant in the code. That is, having two forms doesn't complicate your life, but gives you flexibility when writing code. Look at these lines. Here, most compilers will write the same commands, and accordingly both forms will be equally productive. This is because you aren't using the value that the operator returns. But if you use, for example, here, or here, or here, then the compiler commands will be different and the prefix form will work faster. But the difference is so insignificant that in these examples you'll never feel it. There are two more details about increment and decrement which I will tell you in future lessons. This is the ability to change their functionality by overloading them, as well as the knowledge that the prefix form of these operators returns an L value. Don't think about it for now, but know that I will return to these operators later. And that's the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you can support me by liking this video, writing a comment under it, subscribing to the channel, donating using the link in the video description, or becoming a sponsor of my channel. All these things popularize my channel and motivate me to continue recording lessons for you. Goodbye.